You ever feel like you're drowning in distractions?
Oh, absolutely. It's the constant struggle, right? Our brains are pulled in a million directions.
A million is right. So today we're tackling this head on, diving into Cal Newport's deep work.
Love that book. He really nails it. You know, that feeling of deep focus, getting lost in something meaningful.
Yeah, totally. But these days, it feels impossible to even get there.
Right. It's like we've forgotten how Newport calls it deep work and argues it's a superpower in today's world.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But what does this deep work even look like in real life?
Think of it as the opposite of that constant shallow busyness. We're always checking emails, responding to notifications, never truly focusing.
Ugh, I know that feeling all too well. So how do we escape that?
Well, Newport gives a great historical example. Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, he built a stone tower in the woods just to escape distractions and write.
Well, a whole tower. That's serious dedication.
It shows how essential focus was for him. He understood that deep work requires intentionality and a space free from interruptions.
Okay, but that was then. This is now. Everyone's glued to their devices. 24/7. Is deep work even possible in our modern world?
Absolutely. Think about Bill Gates. He's famous for his think weeks. No emails, no meetings, just pure uninterrupted thought time.
Okay, so that's Bill Gates.
Yeah.
What about regular people with regular jobs?
That's the thing. Deep work isn't just for billionaires and famous thinkers. It's relevant for everyone.
Okay, I'm listening.
Newport argues that in today's economy, three groups have a distinct advantage.
Wow me.
Those who can work well with intelligent machines, those who are the best at what they do, and those with access to capital.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
But how does deep work fit in?
Deep work is the key. It helps you become highly skilled and able to use complex tools, potentially putting you in all three of those advantageous groups.
So it's not just about focusing for the sake of focusing. It's about developing valuable skills and achieving a level of mastery.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. Deep work is becoming incredibly rare.
Which makes it even more valuable.
It's like a hidden superpower in today's workplace.
Okay, you've convinced me. Deep work is important. But how do we actually get better at it? I'm drowning in emails meetings. My phone's buzzing constantly.
That's the struggle, right? We're up against what Newport calls the metric black hole.
The what now? Sounds ominous.
It basically describes the difficulty in measuring the impact of deep work.
So we prioritize shallow tasks because they feel more urgent even if they're not actually important.
It's the illusion of productivity.
Right.
Right? And that leads to burnout and feeling unfulfilled even after a busy day.
So we're busy but not productive. It's a recipe for disaster. But isn't there more to work than just productivity?
Absolutely. There's the meaning, the fulfillment.
The craftsmanship.
Craftsmanship.
Like building furniture or something.
It's about approaching any work with dedication, skill, and pride. Think of a master swordsmith, Rick Furrer. He said, I don't need a sword, but I have to make them.
Wow, so it's about that intrinsic drive to hone your skills, to create something of value.
Exactly. And that applies to anything, whether it's coding, writing, designing. It's about bringing that level of care and attention to your work.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not just about the outcome, but the process, the dedication you bring to it.
And you know what? There's actually a neurological basis for why deep work is so meaningful.
Oh, really? Tell me more.
Remember Winifred Gallagher, the science writer who faced a cancer diagnosis?
Yeah, vaguely. I think she wrote a book about focusing on the positive aspects of her life.
Exactly. And she connected her experience to scientific research. It turns out focusing on things you care about can actually increase happiness. And it activates your brain in a rewarding way.
Wow. So our brains are literally wired to reward us for deep work. That's amazing.
It is, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Newport offers a practical framework to help you make deep work a reality. He outlines 4 key rules.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's hear them.
Rule number 1 is work deeply, which might seem obvious. But the key here is to develop a depth philosophy, a strategy for scheduling deep work into your life.
So not just squeezing it in when you can spare a moment. It's about being deliberate.
Exactly. And there are a few different approaches. Some people thrive on dedicated blocks of time. Others prefer extended periods of isolation.
And some people like me probably need a little more flexibility.
That's where the journalistic approach comes in. Think of it like a writer who can switch into deep work mode whenever they have a free moment.
So it's about finding a rhythm that works for you, not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right. The key is intentionality. You have to decide to prioritize deep work and then structure your life to support that decision.
Makes sense. What's next?
Rule number 2 is embrace boredom, which might sound counterintuitive, but Trust me on this one.
Embrace boredom. Isn't that the enemy?
It's not about seeking boredom, but building your capacity to resist distractions. Think about it. Our brains are wired to seek out novelty.
So we're constantly bombarding ourselves with stimulation, weakening our ability to focus.
Exactly. It's like a muscle. If you never challenge it, it'll never get stronger.
So how do we train our focus muscle?
Start by scheduling internet blocks, periods where you completely disconnect from the internet.
No email, no social media, no mindless browsing. Sounds tough, but I'm willing to try.
It's worth it, I promise.
Yeah.
Okay, ready for rule number 3?
Hit me with it.
This one's a biggie. Quit social media.
Wait, really? Quit all social media? But how will I stay connected?
It's not necessarily about deleting all your accounts, but being more intentional with how you use them. A lot of us fall into the any benefit mindset.
Any benefits with that?
We assume that because a tool offers some benefit, it must be worth our time.
I'm definitely guilty of that.
We need to consider the opportunity cost.
Right.
All that time scrolling could be spent on things that actually matter.
Okay, point taken. I'm starting to rethink my relationship with social media. What's the final rule?
It's drain the shallows. This one builds on what we were just talking about with the opportunity cost. Remember that experiment where 37 signals shortened their work week?
Yeah, they found they could be just as productive in 4 days.
The interesting thing is they realized a lot of what filled up a typical workday was shallow work. Stuff that didn't really move the needle.
Like all those emails and meetings that could have been an email.
Exactly. It's about ruthlessly prioritizing and cutting out the fluff, which starts with actually quantifying that shallow work.
Time tracking. I can see how that would be eye-opening.
Absolutely. You get real about where your time's going, and then you can make choices. For what's left, Newport suggests a radical strategy. Schedule every minute of your day.
Wait every minute. That sounds intense.
It's about taking control. Instead of reacting to your inbox, you decide proactively, this is when I do deep work. This is for emails. You build the structure.
Like a roadmap for your day, making sure the important stuff actually gets done.
Exactly. You become the architect of your time instead of letting it control you.
This is so helpful. I feel like I'm finally getting a handle on how to make deep work happen. Any other key takeaways from the book?
Oh, definitely. One that stands out is Newport's emphasis on rituals, having specific things you do before you enter deep work mode.
Like a pregame routine for your brain.
Precisely. It could be as simple as having a designated spot for deep work, or setting a timer, maybe a quick meditation. Whatever helps you signal to your mind, it's go time.
I love that. It's like creating a mental trigger to shift into focus mode.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment. Find what works for you. The key is to be intentional and deliberate.
This has been so insightful. I'm fired up to implement these rules and see the impact.
You'll be amazed, I promise. Remember, in a world of distraction focus, superpower.
Absolutely. So to recap, the 4 rules of deep work. Work deeply, embrace boredom, quit social media, and drain the shallows.
Nailed it. And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about finding what works for you and sticking with it.
This has been an awesome conversation. I feel like I've learned so much about the power of deep work.
It's a journey, right? And remember, deep work isn't about rejecting technology. It's about using it intentionally on your terms.
I love that. It's about taking back control. It reminds me of that story about Bill Gates back in the early days of Microsoft. He disappeared for days at a time to work on code.
It's true. And look what he accomplished. That laser focus allowed him to create an entire industry, a billion-dollar industry, born out of deep work.
It's pretty incredible when you think about it. And it's not just Bill Gates. So many successful people throughout history have relied on deep work to achieve amazing things.
It's a timeless principle. And even though our world is more distracting than ever, the ability to focus is more valuable than ever.
This conversation has been a total game changer. I'm ready to ditch the distractions, embrace the boredom, and dive deep into the work that matter.
That's the spirit. And remember, you don't have to be perfect. Start small. Experiment with the rules we talked about. Find your rhythm.
It's about progress, not perfection. And the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
Well said. So to our listeners, we leave you with this question. What is the most important thing you want to accomplish in your professional life? And how can you use deep work to get there?
Keep books over mind, and we'll see you next time.